Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, August 23rd Cemetery Commission meeting. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes, and Pat sent me a change. Would you just describe your addition?
Yes, I didn't print it out. I'm under the protection of the historic stones to add a bullet that Mike Canales had mentioned that there are guards that can be put on the trimmers so that they will protect the stones. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Motion to approve with changes, unless is that all?
That would be all, yeah. So motion to approve. Okay, great. Second?
I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Yep.
All right, so I will amend those when I go home. All right. So the next is our following up segment, the signs and hours of operation. I talked to Mike a little bit about that, and he was wondering if maybe Hugh could give me the information as to who to order from. And then I talked to Candace about talking about something else, and she said that she's the queen of doing mock-ups. And so I'm wondering if I could get her to do a mock-up for us, actually, just so before we, make the phone call to actually have it made. So if that would be okay with everyone, I would love to give.
Did we decide to add no grave robbing to the sign?
Good one. Didn't, but I think we might, or no digging.
Right, no digging.
No grave digging.
Right, all right. So,
And the mock-ups are with the PDFs and stuff, you can send right to the printer,
Right.
yeah,
right to the sign guy
so that's great. So, good.
or gal.
In terms of elements on there, do we have maybe the town logo at the top,
I don't remember, this was when Roxanne had some sort of standardized town thing, and I think you'll have to check with Mike. I sent all that went to Mike, the wording went to Mike, and the typeface.
Yeah.
There's a town typeface.
When you have that done, Candace, can I take a quick look?
Yep.
Yeah, so
I've
that's,
got a copy of the logo if you need it.
oh, wonderful.
I got a giant high-res one too. It's like 4,000 DPI.
And we were just talking about, not the major sign, right? We're talking about something
At
the entrance, with the eye, but not
a
so
couple of
much
different entrances, yeah.
a drive-by. Is that true?
Ah,
Can you remind me where these signs are going? Like as a pedestrian entrance sign? Is this a sign?
I saw a drive-in, so it has to be both, I think it has to be
Okay.
both sides.
Have we thought about materials?
No, this is,
I mean, I'm thinking like something like a wood sign or, something with a nice stand, a nice post. I mean, I just feel like, I don't want anything that, for lack of a better word, looks cheap.
Or the wrought iron, the
Yeah.
hooks where it's.
Bob Bartle can help us.
Yeah.
Seriously, we got a great iron worker that makes, signs here in town. And I think that you got the words and then you have the material on the sign and then how we're going to do the post. We got to kind of think through all through.
yeah, so Candace, would you check with Mike on those things? 'Cause
Is there a budget?
The April minutes have what apparently was discussed at that time, signs about hours and mowing. Two alternatives, each for a sign about hours and mowing in the old section were proposed by the chair. After discussion, it was agreed to use the following wording. Cemetery is open from sunrise to sunset. Mowing in this section is limited to protect the old stones from damage. Now we're done, new sentence. Mike and Hugh will review at the cemetery locations and size. There are multiple entrances that need both signs for drivers and signs for walkers. Signs
thank
for
you.
drivers should be street sign size.
Okay, thank
Mike
you.
and Hugh will print out samples on paper and bring to next meeting for discussion. Karen will send final wording to Mike and Hugh. Roxanne will send information on town directional signs in use.
Thank you for the reminder.
You have enough there to work with?
Yes.
Okay, great.
26 minutes.
Okay, great. All right. The next item is that incident in the old section. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think we've covered it. Nothing more has happened. So.
I assume they weren't able to lift any fingerprints.
They actually did lift a few fingerprints,
Oh,
but
did they?
yeah, but they were pretty smudgy because they had been exposed for almost 2 weeks to wind and rain and,
I had moved it.
so,
Who gets the shovel?
yeah, I don't know. Well, I think it's being held in evidence right now. If it happens again, then we might possibly have fingerprints we could compare to. I don't know.
That's a nice
It's a very nice shovel. It seems like it was brand new too.
I'm surprised somebody left it behind.
I know.
They could have left in a hurry.
It was a really, really odd
I
incident.
wonder if we have an evidence locker that has all sorts of old goods. In it. Maybe there's an old metal detector, who knows?
Because it's got a nice green handle.
It looked brand new.
Maybe Arlo's garbage is.
From Alice's restaurant.
Someone to write a song about this incident.
You can dig one.
All right, the next thing is brand new. It's a request for burial by a former resident in a current family plot. So this is a new situation for us, but I think something that may happen more often. So let me give you the background. This is a woman who grew up in Stockbridge, but left when she got married, moved away. Then she and her husband moved back and they lived in Stockbridge for about 30 years. And then 30 years ago, they moved away to Colorado. In the meantime, her parents were buried here and they have a typical two-person plot this is what we give away now. So that plot already exists. She contacted Rich first, Rich Atwood, by the way, who can't be here today because he's doing a burial. First, and then I talked with her as well. She would like to be buried here. She's 82 or 83. She and her husband would like to be buried in the same family plot. Her parents were cremated, so there is plenty of room. She's not asking for a new space. She's an out-of-town resident. So that's the situation. She also has 5 siblings, only one of whom lives in Berkshire County, and I don't think he lives in Stockbridge. I think she's sort of advocating for them as well, and she also has children. But she really doesn't know if her children want to be buried here. She definitely wants to be buried here with her husband. So that's the situation. Jamie, just to bring you up to speed, the town provides free plots, but only two coffin-sized, full burial size. And you can't choose, you get to the next available.
Yes, that's
right.
You had to be a resident.
And you have to be a resident, right. So this situation is a little different.
Resident or taxpayer?
It says resident, our bylaw says resident or taxpayer. So
if you own land.
right.
What if you, well,
But that's not the situation. Yeah, so here it is. So she is requesting to be buried here. Rich Atwood has checked the size of the plot and where it is, and I've also looked at it. And there is plenty of room in it for cremations. So that's not a question. So that's what do we do? This is a little different from our standard
Do they want coffins in it or?
cremation. She has guaranteed, there's no room. I mean, there would only be room for 2, plus her parents are already there as cremated remains. So all of these would be cremations. Anybody who joined that plot would be a cremation. So this is the situation. This is what we're here for, to talk about these things. So any thoughts?
Is she still in Colorado?
She's still in Colorado, yeah.
I have no problem with putting more folks into the same plot to accommodate their need. I mean, it seems like a very reasonable request. It doesn't impact the long-term space issues in the cemetery. I don't see why we would say no, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Pat, what do you think?
I can't think of any reason not to. I was trying to think of some cons, but I think it sounds reasonable too.
Yeah.
And especially as somebody that was born here, lived here for a number of years. I think it's a legitimate request.
Yeah.
And are they responsible because she's not living here her family to bring her, her remains?
Yeah.
And-
that would be my interest. That to me is sort of the next question. Once we decide if this is okay or not, if we do it okay, how do we make sure that everybody who needs to know knows. I mean, maybe we produce a letter that goes to her and,
How does that happen with any burial?
I think it's all done through the funeral homes. The truth is, I don't know exactly, but
I would think that the funeral home there would be in contact with a funeral home maybe here
to do the,
do that, and that would may be something that we should specify.
People often die where they're not going to be buried. I mean, I would imagine that there's some standards for how
Yeah.
that's managed. My question would be, are there any expenses that the town pays for a resident burial? And should we consider approving with the condition that they pay those expenses?
Right. That's what I guess I was trying to
yeah,
figure
yeah.
out.
Well, no, at this, I could.
Cost of digging the hole, I don't know.
Well, but we don't pay that.
We don't. That was my question.
No, we don't, now that Rich is doing it, and the highway department doesn't do it anymore. So when the highway department did it, we did have expenses, right? But now it's all done through Rich Atwood. He's a subcontractor basically, and
That gets charged to the
What, the
family.
funeral home or?
the funeral home collects all of that.
Okay.
They collect all of the, in fact, we also have a $500 burial fee, just to cover, future care.
Okay.
That's standard, and that funeral home also collects that.
Oh, okay.
And then that's not us.
Is it your sense that we're making a policy by doing this?
No, I'm not, I don't know. That's up to us.
Yeah.
I don't have a sense that we're making a policy. I do think, for me, the standard is, are we violating, we don't give away space to somebody who doesn't live here. We're not giving her space, she's using space that already has been given away. So it's space that we can't reuse. I mean, no one else is going to go into that plot except someone in that family. So to me, my opinion is if she were asking for a new space, that's no brainer. She doesn't live here. She hasn't lived here in 30 years. But she's not asking for a new space. She's asking for a space that already has been set aside for her family and can't be used by anyone else.
If the person that was requesting this had not been born here or lived here for X number of years, would we have said yes?
I don't know.
And so.
I don't know. I think it's a good
Be
question.
making some sort of using this as a basis for some sort of a policy.
That was my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would help. I
So
think.
tell me more about the
So,
policy.
because she was born here and.
Well, to be fair, I don't know that she was born here.
Okay.
She said she lived here from the age of 10 to 20, so I don't
Oh,
think she was
okay.
born here. Then she moved away, then she moved back and lived here for 30 years. So the born here.
For 80.
You know,
Long-term roots in town, something like that.
one thing, it's hard to be born in Stockbridge unless you're born in home. So people really aren't doing that anymore. So there's no hospital here. So
Oh,
I
I
mean,
see.
saying born here would be a
Your
little.
parents were living here, I think that's.
Parents were living here, yeah, absolutely. So a couple different ways. We could decide this case and then talk about a policy in the future. Yeah, okay,
Like that.
let's do that, because I think there's a lot of things to consider. But this case seems pretty clear to everybody.
Yeah, and unusual.
Yeah, because-
Unusual, but clear.
Yeah,
Definite ties to the town.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
and because it's already an existing lot, like everybody's saying.
yeah.
And you're not digging new holes.
Right. We're not giving away a space that someone else in town would have had. So why don't we do that? So why don't we,
So can I just ask another question? Does that mean she gets to have a new stone also? I think we need to think about, is there going to
Do
be
you add her name
marker on
to
the
the
ground?
stone?
Right, is there a family marker there?
there is a family marker there.
Is there room for her name, and do we limit it to 3 cremated remains? Like, I don't know that we have a limitation on the number of cremated remains that can go
No.
into a spot.
Rich had told me that he thought
Many
based on.
people do.
I know, but based on this, okay, what Rich told me was that he thought there was room for 30 cremains in there.
30?
I went and looked at the spot. I don't quite see that, but he knows better than I do, but again, at this point, there's 2 in there now. She and her husband would be another 2. She really doesn't, I could tell she does not know of her children.
But you said that you wanted to advocate for her siblings.
She's advocating for.
Sounds like there's room for them. If we're going to set the policy for her, if they want to go there too, I think we let them too.
That's my feeling too. The children could get to be a little more iffy, but
They might want to.
May not have come back and lived here.
Right. So,
So I think we're
But then
going
it
to, at
gets
some
children
point,
and spouses and
need to do a
then.
policy.
Up to 30.
Well, you know, so she had 5 siblings, so potentially that, if they were all partnered, potentially that's what,
10.
10 more people.
right.
Plus her and her husband, which would
And
be
at the same
a total
time,
of
when we
12.
make the policy, we probably should say something like, if there's not already a family headstone, that the
Yeah.
only headstone that you could not add more headstones unless they were flat.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I was thinking
Yeah.
that too, but let's go back to the headstone. Perhaps we say to her, either you add your name to the current headstone, or you put in a flat marker.
Yeah.
Can't
have a-
Current cemetery bylaws say only one raised monument per plot.
No, it doesn't. I wish it did, but it doesn't.
Change.
It's something to consider. It does say something about height. We'll talk more about those in a minute, but
So that's another thing we could add to the bylaws.
Yes.
yeah.
Some of these things.
Yeah, I don't think doesn't say anything just
No,
one per,
doesn't say
no.
anything, yeah.
We could conceivably have a forest of them in a small area, so it's something to think about. So how should we move forward then? A motion to approve this specific case? Yes?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. That we will allow this woman, her name is Charlotte Sorensen.
I think we should also make a motion that Karen can work out the details based on these parameters with the family.
Okay, let's do one motion at a time then. So Pat has a motion to approve this woman's request.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then Patrick, you have a
I
motion?
think we should motion to allow Karen and Michael, if you need his help, work out the specifics with the family.
Okay,
And I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
And maybe we should make sure that the question about arrangements and things, that they go through a local
Funeral home?
funeral home.
Yeah. I thought Rich told me that they have to do that. I believe that out-of-state funeral homes have to use a local one. But let me find out from him. That'll be part of my working out the details.
It's possible that cremated remains could just mail directly to you, for example.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
to Rich.
my brother was mailed to my father.
Yeah,
After, so cremate locally and ship globally, kind of.
yes.
Right.
Like
Oh, I
that.
forgot
But you,
about that. That's
but
right.
we may not want to do that, right? Because who wants to be responsible for somebody's cremated remains if it's not their job?
Going in a box.
Right,
Right,
Right.
yeah, that's a good point. If they're gonna go, well, right now it would be Rich Atwood, but we
Right.
don't know when.
right. We don't know this is
going
going to happen,
But I'm
exactly.
sure my father went through a funeral home to have the burial happen.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I will work that out with Rich and Mike if I need to. Okay, great, good. Oh, and so we agreed we'll work out some kind of policy about this in the
Yes.
future?
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, probably should. It's a good idea.
And when we're looking at the bylaws, it's something that we could add.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to. Well, so I make a motion that at a future meeting, we talk about the broader ramifications of these kinds of requests. I think we're gonna start getting more of them possibly, so that's my motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, all right. All right, so next up is the repair and restoration project. I wanted to just update everybody and also ask for approval of something. So where are we? Mike and I met with Ian and Bill. Those are the guys who are Preservation Inc., and those are the people we hired as consultants to review the condition of the oldest stones in the cemetery. And they gave us a long report back last spring. And so we met with them, and what they have said they would like to do is serve as our continuing is in the role of consultants and overseers. So they will work with us to do some of the work directly, and they will also work with us to create the specs that we need to bid out for the repair part. So there are, let me back up here. There are basically 3 parts of this project. One is a specific repair to a very specific tomb, the Sargent tomb, husband and wife. Those are very, very large stones that were originally table stones, so they were up on legs. The legs are gone, they're flat on the ground, and they're being subject to a lot of wear and tear, and we're losing them. And they are the headstones for the monument stones for John Sargent and his wife. And John Sargent was the missionary who helped found the town. So we have a proposal from them to begin looking at repairing. Basically, the first step is to see what might need to be done. How much damage is there and what are the possible solutions? And they won't know until they actually start looking at the stones.
Is there any chance that any of the footings still exist under the ground?
Absolutely, there is a chance.
And what is your feeling on if there is one that we could, at least one that we could model it after? Are you thinking raising it up as it was restored before?
I think
as it was before?
I'm not thinking anything about it in particular. We need to wait and see what they find. And that is the first step. And they have given us a contract for that, which is $8,000 or something, or $14,000, something like that. And so Mike has approved that, and that's in the works right now. They're passing things back and forth.
This is actually John Sargent's tomb.
It is John Sargent's tomb, yeah. The second part of the project is repair and bringing up. Many of the stones are leaning, and many of them need to come back up. They're much more vulnerable to being broken because they lean. So that's what we're calling repair and restoration, bringing them back up. That is a larger job. And that is the job that they would help us create the specs for, so we could send out requests for proposals to various groups, various organizations and people and companies that do this kind of work. So they would help us define the job. Once they would help us review the proposals that we get back, help us choose, although that's something we need to do as a commission. But they would help us and give us advice, and then they would oversee the work. They would check in on it from time to time. They would be available to answer questions and help make decisions. So Mike and I are very relieved about that, because it's the scary part. The third part is the cleaning. And if you might remember from the report, that's actually a majority of the work. And they have suggested that we put together a volunteer group, and they work with us and they train us and they provide us with all the materials and the equipment that we need. And they work with us, and we actually have some days where volunteers, we go out and do some cleaning. So they have given us a proposal for that, for the cost of that. And that would happen both in fall and in spring. And they're proposing two fall workshops for this fall at a cost of $26,800. And so first of all, I want to ask for everyone's approval to move forward. Well, first, let me ask, are there any questions about what
It's 2 days of on-site work.
It's, I just got this over the weekend and I just started looking at it today. So it would be, the workshops, I don't know how many days they are. I'm sorry, it's probably in there. But we would have 2 in the fall and 4 in the
So
spring.
these are on-site, like,
On-site workshops, yes. We would actually be doing the work,
yeah.
yeah. So that's,
And how many people from their staff would be there?
how many what?
How many people from their staff?
There would be 3 people from their staff.
Okay.
And we have a group of, I'm already getting a list of volunteers. We have 2, 4, 6. We have 8 from town, people who are interested. And one of the men, Ian, said that he knows at least one woman from another town who's interested in doing it, I think to learn how to do it. So we made.
Well, I'll ask anybody who has experience, $4,000 per person per day. Does that seem about the going rate for this sort of?
Don't know.
No, whoa, what is your?
I think it was the less.
26,000 for 2 days for 3 people is basically 4,000 per person per day, leaving a few thousand for materials.
What?
So I'm just wondering if I haven't seen this obviously, but I'm wondering,
Right.
that may be the going rate, a couple $100 an hour. I don't know. I'm just
Right.
asking the question if it seems reasonable.
I have no idea. Does anybody have any other ideas?
Oh, I thought I heard it as 2,002, 600.
No, it's.
No, it's 26, sorry, it's 26,800.
Okay.
Yeah, 26,800.
Sorry, I misheard.
That includes them, that they would be giving us all of the protective material and all of the cleaning material. And they would be teaching us how to do it and overseeing us as we do it.
Cleaning material is expensive.
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly, I can tell you that their original estimate, if we didn't do it this way, would have been ranged from 110,000 to 140,000 to clean.
This is better.
This is, yeah, this is way, this is way.
And how many stones can you do in a,
We don't know.
oh, you don't know?
We don't know. Yeah, I know, it was my first question. We just don't know.
Okay.
We do want
Didn't know
to
if
make
there
sure
was
we
an
got-
average.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it
Each person
So
can do
that's-
8.
Is this 2 days?
No, it's more than 2 days. It's two
Okay.
workshops.
It's 2
Yeah,
workshops?
but I think it's something like 4 days. As I said, I haven't had a chance to.
And this would not.
6 4-day work, so they're 4 days. Each workshop is 4 days.
This would be the hands-on actually doing it.
Yes, yes.
So it's not just training.
No,
And
we would
then,
actually be doing it. They would be doing it with us. So Patrick, it's actually 8 days.
All right, well, that's much better then.
Yeah.
But now here's my question. Are we 4 consecutive days and then another 4 consecutive days?
Possibly, depends on the weather.
So really getting a bunch of volunteers is going to be the key to getting as many stones. as possible.
So it's 3,250 a time divided by 3 people. So it's 1,083 for each person each time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Seems fine.
that seems fine, given the level of expertise. Yeah,
Materials.
plus the materials, right?
Oh, that's separate?
Well, no, it's minus the materials, right?
No, because,
Materials being
The
included.
materials
right?
included.
Yeah. yeah, so they would take the materials out of it.
Right.
They're doing the materials too.
Right.
for that.
So it'd be 4 days each time. And what they had told us in our phone meeting was that if we didn't get a lot of volunteers, they would be working also. So they're going to be cleaning stones with us. They're not just going to be watching us do it.
and that would not be extra.
That's exactly,
So
it's not
that's-
extra, yeah.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, yeah, he said, I mean, one of them said, yeah, if you don't get a lot of volunteers, well, Bill and Wendy and I will just keep cleaning. We'll get as much done as we can do. So we would do 2 this fall and then, then we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it works and how, and if it all works well, the way we assume it will, then we'll look at doing some more in the spring.
And is there a priority list of which stones would be done?
There is a priority list of which stones need to be cleaned, but not within that. I don't know if there's a priority list. That would be something they could advise us on, that we actually gather.
Good. I think it's great.
Okay, good. Any questions and Peter, you've actually done this, right?
Yes, we've
And-
done, they're very good. And I'm looking at the original report. It's obviously what you looked at. It's got those dollars that you mentioned. So there's sort of 223 stones light cleaning and 523 stones heavy cleaning.
Ah.
The light, I think, may just involve spraying on the D2 and moving on to the next stone.
Yeah.
Nature does a lot of the work once you spray the stone. But they'll obviously know better than that.
Yeah,
Yes, I've done cleaning with them. They do, and like the stones just look great by the time they're done. And it really, enhances the life.
we have an example of that. My husband and I were coming back from somewhere yesterday and we were right near the cemetery. So we just wanted to check out and see because we were hearing some noises from it. So we went down and looked and I was showing, everything was fine. And I was showing him, there are several obelisks in one of the newer sections, one of which is this beautiful white and the rest are all this very smoky gray. The white one has been cleaned. That's what.
And I don't know if that, Chris Marsden.
Right.
It is, so
Right.
that's an example.
That's the one, yeah. So if you're ever in the cemetery walking around and you see this one beautiful white, very tall obelisk, you'll see that that's what they're going to look like when they get done. So good. So I make a motion that we approve this expense and contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Good. Okay.
Marble Mason's Burn Tower is doing the Butler Bench
Yeah,
restoration currently
yeah.
up on Laurel Hill Park. And the first step was cleaning. And he puts on this solution and covered the bench and let it cook so that it got into, it was not an abrasive thing, so that got into the stone and got the things that are, penetrating the stones and getting into the pores and stuff. And then he takes the cover off and did a very light power washing, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
You can really see the difference.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Vern Tower, Verne Tower. He did the restoration of the fountain in the Green and Lee.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, so he's doing the work up on the hill.
I'm looking forward to trying it.
Is that the same D2 stuff that they're talking about?
We don't know.
We don't know.
what material he
No.
used.
But he's, and when he's finished, he puts a substance on the stone, once this is all completed. And he says it's an interesting substance because it doesn't allow moisture to penetrate into the stone, but it allows moisture to come out of the stone. Said it's a really interesting substance.
Wow.
So he can look at marble and tell you what quarry it came from.
Oh, that's really neat. That's really
Cool. But at any rate, I digress.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm also wondering if we can maybe add to our cleaning the fence posts on the outside, now that we're getting the replacement stones. I don't know if they've been installed yet.
They are, they're installed.
And so how does the new marble look next to the old marble posts? So I'm wondering if we should clean the old marble posts to match the newness of the new ones.
Yeah.
Oh,
a good
that's a good
point.
idea.
Possibly.
The new ones are really bright.
Yeah. I don't remember noticing a big, maybe I did notice. I think that's interesting. Especially as volunteers, once we get
Right.
more skilled with this, and that could be something where we just spray it on and then leave it.
Yep.
We don't have to worry about it. Could be anything else. Great, okay.
Maybe we can let things cook too.
All right, so the next item is bylaw revisions. I wanted to suggest a different approach than I did last time. I would like to work with Candace on going through the bylaws one by one and identifying what we think are questions, problems, concerns. We just had one just come up, just today. And also work with her to come up with some suggested possible solutions and bring them back to the commission to review at that point. And then we can have a more detailed discussion. And then we can decide which ones are worth, pursuing to actually change now or at whatever time. We can figure out the timetable. So I would think Candace and I could get something back by October maybe, and we can.
My suggestion is you do that informally rather than make a subcommittee because of the subcommittee open meeting law rules.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to suggest a subcommittee. I just Candace and me working together. And again, just to make it easier for everyone else to see, well, these are what we think are some issues and here are some possible solutions, and we're not limited to those. But just to give us something solid to discuss, to work from. So if everyone's okay with that, then we'll go ahead and do that. Wonderful. Good. Okay. And then green burials is the last thing on our list, well, second to last thing on our list. And I wanted to suggest a kind of a similar approach. I don't know if everyone knows that Candace is our absolute resident expert on green burials. She has a ton of experience working at, I'm blanking on the name suddenly,
Green Barrel.
Mount Auburn Cemetery, when did they start doing green burials?
They probably never stopped, but they were certified by the Green Burial Council in 2014.
Okay.
So, and so, yeah, not
Almost
to,
10 years.
not to belabor a point, but just so we're all on the same foundation here. A green burial, simply everything going into the ground is biodegradable. Whereas in most cemeteries across the state, a vault is going into the ground before the casket is going in. And so green burials or natural burials are just saying there's really no need for the vault. And so if you work closely with the person digging the graves, you can also often get the green burial option for your residents in town. So that's ideally what I would like to see happen here in Stockbridge.
Yeah.
So,
Don't these overlap because the bylaws have to reflect
yes.
best practices?
Yeah.
So there's specifically
Exactly,
one item within the bylaws that prohibits green burials, just
Oh.
because it requires a vault.
Yeah,
It
we have a
says any-
bylaw that requires a vault,
Yeah,
a concrete
a
vault,
sealed vault,
a sealed vault.
yes.
Yeah, I just learned this, so I've been very proud of my new knowledge here. Vaults are sealed so that there's nothing and a liner is not sealed. So what we are currently using are concrete liners and have been using that for a long time. So it does really connect very nicely with the whole bylaw thing. And there are other questions. Some cemeteries separate out green burials and areas, make them a separate area, and some don't. So what I would like to ask Candace to do is to work with Rich and look over our cemetery by herself too, with knowing what she knows, and come back with some recommendations to answer some of the questions that I think people might have. Do we want to keep it separate? Can we intermingle it? Is it possible with our soil? I mean, what are the conditions? You don't want to do this in a wet area. We have some wet areas. So I'm going to ask Candace, if everyone's okay with that, to begin looking into all that and coming back again with, questions, concerns, ideas, so we can talk those through. Because I think it is something we would like to, we've had interest from people in town. They are interested in doing this at some point, so. Everyone okay with that idea? All right.
I'm okay with that idea.
That's the most important person here.
Is there any of either of these two topics, either bylaws or the green burials, that you want to be involved in? Because as well as an attorney and someone's been through much of this,
Yeah, no, I think I'm okay sticking with the historical. I appreciate it.
Appreciate the offer. Okay, so I am going to be away the second half of September. And so I'm going to propose that our next meeting be October 25th. If we had a bunch of stuff cooking right now, I would say, Candace could run the meeting in September. But unless something comes up with the cleaning, unless anyone has a strong feeling they'd like to meet in September, I think we could wait till October, and then we could have a nice report on how the cleaning's gone. Is that okay with everyone? All right,
Yes.
good. So
All
the
right.
next meeting will be October 25th. Wonderful.
Great.
All right. I think we're done. Yeah.
motion adjourned.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.